Hey, what's going on? It is another Friday edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. This is where we stop down every Friday afternoon, usually a little later in the day. It's typically around 3:30 Magic Valley time. Went a little earlier today because, well, we got things to do and people to see, and plus it's Halloween. So happy Halloween, everybody. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on our Magic Valley resident and expert. It is Scott Burton. Yo, what's going on, Scott?
Oh, geez, here we go. Turning around, getting old. All right. Hey, sporting a little Billy Chapel, if you will. That's today's sports movie, and arguably, if not my favorite baseball movie of all time is this one.
No doubt. If you say it, you got to say it in the Vin Scully voice because he's the person in the movie that's doing the broadcast. Billy Chapel.
Billy Chapel. The cathedral at Yankee Stadium belongs to a chapel.
That's right. So again, Scott has been really throughout the fall, every week been showing up with a different sports themed, either TV show or movie themed piece of memorabilia. And the goal every week is to send in your guesses to Scott at IdahoSports.com or throw it in the comments and we'll throw it up on the screen. Like Sam Buffington wants to know, it's Halloween. You wouldn't know it with all the Idaho high school sporting activities going on today, but yes, it is Halloween, believe it or not. I guess once in a blue moon, Scott, it falls on a Friday when we have state football, state volleyball, state cross country. Not a good time.
No, it's going to be all the side effects of a full moon tonight, with Halloween and games. And I mean, it's going to be absolute bedlam. It's just one of those weird things where everything aligns just right and anything could happen. In fact, it just brought back a memory. The very last football game in high school that I ever played was on Halloween Day. I just remembered that. I need a moment.
Okay. Well, while you take a moment, again, we will remind everybody last week, Scott, on the show, the piece of sports memorabilia you were wearing. Did you have anybody guess correctly?
Yeah, a couple of diehards knew that dodgeball. It was dodgeball, right? That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the underdog story. Yep. So I get them all confused. It's been so many of them. But I had a few people come chime in, and I had a couple say, I don't have a clue. It's one of those obscure sports movies, but right. Still a classic nonetheless. Probably not very kid friendly in places, but at the same time, it's still a sports movie.
Yep. All right, Scott. Well, today is we're really diving into the brackets where we're going to kind of recap what happened with state soccer. Whatever you did there just made all your lights are shining.
That was bad.
Yeah, real bad there. You really snuffed that up there, Scott.
Boy, you try to do something nice and right, and you screw it all up. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
That looks a little better. So we'll just kind of rehash what happened in the state soccer tournaments. When we were on last Friday, some teams were preparing for the semifinals. Some were trying to keep their season alive and loser-out matches. One team did come through and deliver for the second year in a row, and that's probably where we'll lead off. But we'll go soccer. Then we'll go, hey, state volleyball's happening right now. We've got a lot of Magic Valley teams that are competing for championships all across the state of Idaho. And, oh, by the way, opening round of the Idaho High School football playoffs starts today as well. In fact, one game, our first game, already underway. We'll do a live look in here in just a little bit. And it involves the Magic Valley team, the Valley Vikings, on the road in Cottonwood, taking on the Prairie Pirates in a little 8-man opener. So, but first, let's get to what happened in state soccer last week, Scott. And the big story, and again, I will share my screen and show you all of these brackets. I always encourage everybody to make your screen a little bit bigger if you can. I will try to zoom in on these brackets as best as I can as well. This is the boys 5A state soccer tournament, Scott, from Columbia High School, where for the second year in a row, the Wood River Wolverines are your state champions. It was a 1-2 in the championship. Valley View was the 1 seed, Wood River the 2. Wolverines a 5-0 shutout. They win in a laugher.
Yeah, boy, what a job by Wood River, and really what a good job by the Great Basin Magic Valley Conference. There's, they take home a couple of pieces of hardware with Twin Falls getting third. But, Wood River, this is a really good team. I know they came in second behind Valley View, but, those two teams, tomato, tomato. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. They were both very, very similar teams, Valley View and Wood River. And, Wood River's only lost this year. I mean, finished with an 18-1 record, 2 draws. Only loss was to Twin in a 3-2 game, but you kind of take out the 2 ties that they had to start the year. They started the season, Wood River did, 0, 0, and 2. And then you take those out, and the 1 loss, there were only 2 games where there was a 1-goal difference. I mean, that's how dominant they were, 10 shutouts on the year. This was a really good Wood River team. And, you look at Valley View, and they mirrored that too. I mean, I think they had 12 shutouts on the year. I mean, this was a really good 1-2 matchup. And the only thing that surprised me was how Wood River, 5-0. But congratulations, back-to-back.
Yep, really awesome. And then also down here in the consolation final, Twin Falls, after falling to Valley View in the state semifinals 4-1, they turn around and nip Sandpoint 2-1. So the Bruins also come home with a consolation trophy as well. So congratulations to Twin Falls High there.
Yeah, there's some big time players on both these teams. I mean, Max Serrano for Twin, Slotton for Wood River. I mean, those two are the 1-2 punch in the entire conference, which is why they were co-conference players of the year. But and they took home some hardware. So great job by the Great Basin Twin and Wood River.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the 4A boys state soccer tournament. Scott, this was Heartbreak City. We had a chance. I mean, on Friday, we went from potentially, okay, that made the bracket smaller. That's interesting. I zoomed in and it got smaller. I guess we'll just leave it there. We went from potentially talking about like, hey, Sun Valley Community School in Wendell, they might meet up in the championship, to, well, they did meet up on Saturday, but it was in that third place match. Sun Valley Community School falls to eventual state champion Coeur d'Alene Charter 2-0. Wendell gets nipped by McCall Donnelly 2-1. And then in that third place matchup, Wendell does get the win over the Cutthroats 2-0. So Wendell trying to defend their state title from a season ago, lose a heartbreaker to McCall Donnelly, but they turn around and they get that third place trophy.
Yeah, boy. And this one was really interesting too, because we did talk about a potential Cutthroat and Trojan matchup in the final. But, you talk about this Sun Valley team and how good they were. They're the number 4 seed, but man, it just seems like they're better than that, because you look at their losses. I mean, their Achilles heel is Wendell, and that's it. I mean, they have lost 3 times to Wendell. 3 of their 5 losses are to Wendell. The only other losses were to Coeur d'Alene Charter at state and Wood River, the 5A champ. Other than that, it's like Wendell's got their number, and they had it again. But, this was a really good Sun Valley team. Senior midfielder Chris Arenas led him in scoring. I mean, he was the offense. He was 3rd in the entire state in goals scored, was Arenas. But you look at the other side and you've got Wendell, who took 30, and I know they're disappointed. That's the number 2 seed. They should be playing for a championship, but that loss to McCall Donnelly kind of stung a little bit. But it doesn't take away from what senior forward Cesar Camargo did, averaging over a goal per match. I mean, that's 2nd in the state in goals scored. So you look at that match and you have 2 premier offensive players in those 2 young men, and unfortunately, one of them had to lose in a trophy game, as we were hoping that we would see them in the championship. Yeah, good season for both.
Yes, nothing to be ashamed of if you are Coach Whitelaw and the Cutthroats there, certainly. Okay, so that's those were the big storylines from state soccer. Congratulations on the boys' side to Wood River again for getting the victory there. And then, Scott, if we just look really quickly at the girls' state soccer brackets as well, we'll start 5A and just kind of recap where everybody was at. We kind of glossed over this last week. Really, the 2 teams that were there, or the one team. The one team that was there because Wood River fell in the play-in match.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Twin Falls. So they went 2-0. Again, just to kind of reiterate, they lose 2-0 to Pocatello, 3-2 in overtime to Skyline. So the number 2 seed Twin Falls goes 2-0, which was certainly surprising when that happened. And then at the 4A level, Scott, we had one team in the semifinals in Kimberly. They lost to Marsh Valley 1-0. And then Sugar Salem blitzes Marsh Valley 4-0 in the championship. I really would have loved to have seen how Kimberly matched up with Sugar Salem. I think they could have given the Diggers maybe a better match than the Eagles. But for Kimberly, a 1-0 loss to Marsh Valley, a 1-0 loss in overtime to Fruitland. They come home with no trophy in 4th place overall.
Yeah, and that's too bad because the number 2 seed, you kind of think they're going to be playing for something, even if they get or coming home with something, even though if they get knocked off. But this Kimberly team, 19-4 overall, they've got some young players. They're going to be okay. They had a really good 1-2 punch this year with Hannah Fisher, sophomore, and Cassidy Johnson, a junior, who led them into scoring. So they're coming back, and they had a sophomore goalkeeper, in Kate Walters. So these girls are going to be back around, and this experience that Kimberly got in this tournament is just going to pay dividends for them down the road. Now, Sugar, and we talked about this, they won, ho-hum. We knew that was going to happen. It's just a matter of, was anybody going to be able to step up and challenge them because of how dominant this Sugar Salem soccer team has been. And then, and that's you can't take away from, what the Cutthroats did on the girls' side too. They won a consolation championship. So congratulations to them, for getting by Fruitland, falling to number 1 Sugar and 7-1, but, that's what everybody does. And it was a great year for the Cutthroats, Brinley Gage and Piper Schmitz leading the way offensively with Anna Taylor, but Brinley and Anna are coming back. So there's some young core players to this Cutthroat team that's coming back. And then, you go back to that 5A Twin Falls thing. I mean, that was probably the biggest shocker, I think, in all of girls soccer, at any classification really, is because Twin undefeated coming in. And how many times have we seen this where a team comes in undefeated and they go 2 in barbecue, or they come home empty-handed? It's just one of those things where a loss somewhere along the way might have been the best thing for them. But this is a really good young Twin Falls team because a lot of these girls were on that national team that won in Tampa, this past summer, led by sophomore Ava Fleming and sophomore Addison Coring, so they're going to be back. So valuable experience for this Twin team. But Moscow, where did they come from? They came from the play-in game, having to beat Wood River to even qualify for state. And then they go on this run and they win the whole thing. So I think of all the brackets, that one's the screwiest to me.
It just sounds like North Idaho had the best teams this year, Scott. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah. 2-3 years ago, you'd have said Eastern Idaho.
Yeah, that's right. Just depending on where I live, wherever it's convenient for my narrative there. So again, congratulations to all of the outstanding soccer seasons. Now we'll start to get the non-conference teams the all-conference teams coming out. We will post those as we get them to the website, IdahoSports.com. Scott, state volleyball is underway as we speak.
Yes.
Tournaments happening all over the state. Let's just get a quick look in at everything that happened yesterday in the opening round, second year of this new format where state volleyball is a 3-day tournament instead of just a 2-day free-for-all. I kind of like the 3-day personally. It's a little easier to schedule and everything like that. And so let's take a look at what we've got going on. 6A we don't have to worry about. Canyon Ridge is the only 6A school that we've got. So we will start with the Class 5A tournament here, Scott. This is a tournament where you've got Wood River and Twin Falls. Twin Falls, the defending state champions. They won it all last year very famously as the number 8 seed. They are the number 7 seed this year. Wood River, the number 5 seed. Wood River loses to Middleton yesterday in a 5-set thriller, 3-2. Twin Falls is swept by Shelley 3-0. And now you see today already the loser out matches. Wood River survives. They sweep Valley View 3-0. Twin Falls, their season is done. Defending champs. And again, like girls soccer, Twin Falls gets the state 2-out here. They lose to Moscow 3-0.
Yeah, boy, Moscow making a little bit of noise here on the podcast. But yeah, this Wood River team coming in at a number 5, and they were really, really good. I mean, they were led and still are led by Ellie Sandos, who's just amazing. But there are some really, really good teams here in this bracket, and it kind of begins and ends with, that Hillcrest team, who's got so many weapons that I don't see them not getting to the championship game. And can Shelley or Lakeland step up and challenge them? I'm interested to see what happens there. But, you talk about Twin Falls, man, it was a good season for them. Even though they went 2-out, they were adjusting to a new coach, new philosophy. I mean, a new basic everything. And they made it to state, in a fairly somewhat competitive conference. And, they're losing. They've only got 5 seniors on that team, but there are 5 important seniors too, so you kind of feel for them. And, and Millie Western, Braylon Iverson, Valerie Black, Cammie Rupp, Molly Jones, they're all gone. And so here they are going to have to try to rebuild this thing again. But, good seasons for both of them. Wood Rivers is still going, so hopefully they can bring home some hardware.
Yep. They will play the loser of this semifinal tonight between Lakeland and Shelley. The top 4 all on the winner's side of the bracket here.
Yeah.
And this thing, to me, Scott, is wide open. Shelley and Hillcrest. Shelley beat Hillcrest twice in the regular season, but then Hillcrest got Shelley twice at districts. Lakeland was the runner-up last year to Twin. And it still could be somebody from this backside too. Wood River
that's
could
true.
play the way across, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the bracket's set up so somebody could come around, the back way and get it. I'm seeing chalk here. I'm seeing 1-2 going at it. Okay. Is what I'm seeing.
All East Idaho at Timberline High School. We'll see if that comes true, Scott. Let's go to the 4A state volleyball tournament. The 4A and 3A are both being held at the Mountain America Center over in Idaho Falls. Great facility, good enough for the Boise State men's basketball team, good enough for some IHSAA championship events, no doubt about it. So this is the 4A bracket. Kimberly and Filer had to play each other in the opening round. Not ideal, especially because they had played each other 6 times already this season, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Kimberly sweeps them 3-0. Filer playing Sugar Salem right now in a loser-out matchup. And Kimberly, meanwhile, gets Coal Valley Christian tonight in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, I think there was a couple of football brackets that were similar to where conference foes were facing off against each other in the first round because it's all based on the max preps deal. But yeah, 6 times these two teams have played. Kimberly's won 5 of those. So they'll advance. And, I still like this Kimberly team. They've got some weapons. They've got some hitters. I like to see what they do tonight against Coal Valley. But, Filer, keep their season going, and you never know. Stranger things have happened. They could come all the way back around and surprise some people. We'll see.
I do have some stats from the Kimberly match last night. One of the assistant coaches, Amanda Hardy, does a great job. She always sends stats after the games, Scott, to me. Kinley Klingler, 10 kills and a .470 hitting percentage. That's outstanding for high school volleyball. Taya Plew had 11 kills, and Avery Beard had 11 straight serves. So an 11-0 run with Avery Beard on the serve line, and among those were 3 aces as well. Wow.
Yeah, see, I told you, they've got some girls that can swing. And 10 and 11 kills is pretty impressive. And then you got somebody on the service line that can do that. Yeah, this is a really good Kimberly team. I hope they advance and keep going. I'm interested to see how far they can go.
For sure. Okay, 3A state tournament is also taking place at the Mountain America Center in Idaho Falls.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Declo and Wendell both struck out. Just for fans of that conference, Malad and Westside both lose yesterday, Scott, in the opening round. Westside, okay, they lose to the number 1 seed Ambrose 3-0, but Malad gets sniped by Melba, the defending state champions, Melba, 3-2. And so I don't know. We'll see if Malad and Westside can keep it going. Well, Westside can't because they lost 3-1 to Nampa Christian. But maybe Malad can come through this backside of the bracket and challenge. But this Final Four is very interesting. A lot of newcomers. Melba is kind of the old established, but Ambrose, Priest River, and Kellogg. Okay, this is kind of new territory for these programs. Yeah,
it is. And if you're Ambrose, you're probably thinking, I like what I see here because I really didn't want to have to play Malad. Malad is, I know, coming in as a 3, Kellogg the 2, but Malad, I think if they can recover after a loss, I think they've got an excellent chance of coming all the way back around.
Yeah, they took that first step by sweeping Firth in their first loser out match today, 3-0. So that is definitely a good start there for the Dragons. So okay, that's 2A or 3A. Let's go 2A. Scott, the 2A and the 1A are up in North Idaho, not that far from where I live, actually. This is, okay, at Post Falls High School here, the 2A state volleyball tournament. First of all, Oakley and Valley are the 2 teams that survived that war of attrition. We talked about the Final Four coming into last Saturday at the district tournament, Scott, where it was Valley had already won the championship. Oakley was awaiting the winner of Murtaugh and Hagerman in the 4th place match. Murtaugh defeats Hagerman, so Hagerman, the number 1 seed, finishes 4th at districts, and then Murtaugh and Oakley played in the 2nd and 3rd place match, and Oakley survived, and they move on to state. And wouldn't you know it, Oakley and Valley both in the Final Four here, Scott, or at least on the winner's side of the bracket. Oakley a 3-2 win over Cami last night, and then Valley a 3-1 victory over Wallace.
Yeah, boy, could it be? Well, I think the hardest thing that's standing in the way of that is Butte County. Butte County is the number 1 team in the land. They're the defending champs. Matter of fact, last year, the 2A state volleyball tournament was in Jerome, and I hosted it. And so I remember seeing these teams. And Butte County they would have beaten 5A teams. I mean, they're that good. In fact, we brought them over in a regular season match this year just to see them play. So I've seen them this year, and they are good. And how dominant have they been? Well, they're 27-2, and including the losses, they've only, which were to 5A Bonneville and Madison, by the way, they've only lost 9 sets all season long. I mean, this is a dominant team. Now, that said, Oakley, man, what a job they did getting hot at the right time in that district tournament. I watched that one too because that was in our gym. And I really, really like the scrappiness of this Oakley team. So, if they could keep the Butte County hitters at bay, or at least get some touches, some deflections, something to eliminate those direct kills, they got a chance, but they got to get it done at the net. And then Valley, I think they can get past Troy. Troy was there last year too, at the state tournament. So they're kind of a seasoned team who knows how to handle this. But I don't know. We got some good, interesting semifinals coming.
Yeah, Troy had won the previous 3 championships at this classification level. Famously took 3rd last year. Oakley beat Troy in the 3rd place match, and then it was Oakley and Butte County in the championship. So the top 3 teams from last year's state tournament are all on that winner's side of the bracket. So excellence still there at the state 2A. And then we've got the state 1A tournament here, Scott. This is at Coeur d'Alene High School, where we have Cary Panthers, and that's it. Castleford lost that play-in match to Leadore. I watched a lot of this match last night, Scott, as I was putting the scores in. This was like the last match to go final. You see why. It went all 5 sets. 3-2. Genesee does pull it out against Cary, but I was pretty impressed by the Panthers' efforts. It doesn't get any easier today. They've got Leadore right now. We know Leadore is real good. They just beat Castleford in that play-in match. So Cary just hoping they can keep it alive here.
Yeah, I mean, Cary, you're playing on house money. You're really not supposed to win this thing. So with that attitude, just go in and play loose. You never know. I mean, we saw, like we said, Twin Falls as a 8 seed win it last year. If you get hot, you start gelling, and you're playing on house money, and you don't put that kind of pressure on yourself, who knows what's going to happen? But Gary's scrappy. They always have been. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes. Looking forward to seeing how the Panthers do in this matchup here in the 1A loser out portion of the bracket. And then, Scott, there was football. The state football playoffs start today as well. Let's just go through bracket by bracket, and then we'll give you a live update on the one game that is currently happening involving a Magic Valley squad. So we will start. No 6A teams made it. It was just there's no 6A teams even that play football from the Magic Valley. So we will go straight to the 5A bracket. Again, this is not the prettiest bracket to look at because it's all just scrunched in there. It's just a lot of text, and but you got to fit everybody in there because there's 16 teams. I will direct you to Twin Falls, the number 4 seed. They are playing Ridgeview tonight at 7:00. Also qualifying from the Great Basin Conference was Minico. They are the 6th seed. They are playing Sandpoint. So let's talk about Twin Falls and Ridgeview first. Boy, Twin Falls really took it to Minico in the regular season finale last week.
Oh, boy, did they. Twin Falls, this is a really good, balanced Twin Falls team. I mean, they're coming in with a 7-2 record. Their losses are to defending champ Hillcrest, and then a 1-point loss to start the season, to Sandpoint. And they blew out Minico, who is, the second best team in the conference. But the thing that could possibly hurt Twin in the long run is the conference isn't very strong. And because of that, they're not getting those quality games week in and week out. Because we've talked about this before. Teams coming out of weaker conferences, they're not battle tested, and Twin knows this. Ben Coring is a veteran coach. He knows this. And so you've got to make sure that every week you've got competition throughout the season somehow. I mean, you're going up against an 0-for team that hasn't won for a while. It's easy to get complacent, and that's not what you do during the season. But Twin Falls is really, really, really good. I mean, they're led by quarterback Ty Hess, who's thrown for 22 touchdown passes to only 4 interceptions, very efficient, 180 yards a game. Saddleberg and Hess kind of lead the ground game. But, I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about a whole lot is that secondary from Twin. They are really, really good. So when you talk about a balanced team, this is it. I think Twin's got a chance to go deep.
Yeah, I totally agree. They pushed Hillcrest just a couple of weeks ago, only lost by 2 scores. That loss to Sandpoint at the start of the year, Scott. It was the season opener. It was in overtime, and it basically came down to Coach Ben Coring decided to go for 2 and the win instead of kicking the extra point to send it to a second overtime. They went for 2, didn't get it. So, those are kind of the blemishes on Twin Falls' resume. Yeah, they look really good. Okay, Minico, despite the lopsided loss, and the less than exemplary Max Preps ranking, because this bracket does give the top 8 spots based on district representation, Minico gets a home playoff game, and boy, are they glad Sandpoint's got to come all the way down to Rupert tonight. But it's going to be no picnic. Now Sandpoint is a team, though, Scott. Both of these teams are kind of backing into the playoffs. Not a ton of momentum on either side. Minico coming off the big loss to Twin Falls. Sandpoint, Scott, they had this 3-way tiebreaker on Monday night between Sandpoint, Lakeland, and Lewiston to determine who would win that conference up there. Sandpoint had a bye in week 10. So in theory, they should have been the most rested team, the most prepared for this 3-way Kansas City tiebreaker. They lost out immediately, despite having all the rest and the other 2 teams having played just 2 days ago in a really good game. So Sandpoint's got no momentum right now either.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you kind of look at the path that these teams have taken and kind of where they ended up, because you talk about that Kansas City playoff with Lewiston and Lakeland and Sandpoint. Well, where did the other 2 end up?
Against each other.
Against each other. So here we go again, right? And then meanwhile, Sandpoint, it just seems like they have just been on the road all year long. I mean, they came down to Twin to start the season, and then after that, I think they went all the way to the east to Teton. You know, they have been everywhere. They have logged some serious miles. So this is either going to be, ho-hum, we've done this all year, or I am freaking tired of doing this, you know, but here they come again down to Twin. And, you know, this is a Sandpoint team that is no stranger to, you know, the playoffs, right? I mean, they've been around, and 17 playoff appearances, I believe, or something like that. But they've got some weapons that Twin's going to have to kind of contend with. Maverick Gomez, you know, I think he was a state track champion in like the 100 or the 200 or something, but he is fast. And the 200, yeah. And so that's secondary that we talked about of Twins being elite and having a great coverage guy. That matchup right there, that within the game itself is going to be interesting to me. And then, you know, they've got a kind of an all-purpose kid, Sandpoint does, Brock Yarborough, that I think he plays both ways and on special teams and everything else. And, you know, so this is a really good Sandpoint team coming in at a number 11. And I know Minico's looking at this going, well, they beat Twin. Well, that was week 1 and a lot has changed. Well, Minico, I'm interested to see how they recover. I really am, to see if they can get over the playoff hump that tends to haunt them. And I mean, this is a team that is kind of, you know, no stranger to the playoffs either. Sherman Blaser in his 3rd year. I don't know. I like, this is going to be, I think, a little bit closer than people think.
Yeah, Minico is either winning in heartbreaking fashion for the opponent or losing in heartbreaking fashion. They, of course, took out Bishop Kelly in overtime last year. Actually, it was a triple overtime to the delight of fans around the state.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah, in a bracket where there's only 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So
they got to do something about that.
Yeah, I think they're slimming it down next year is what I heard.
12.
So, yep, definitely needed. All right, 4A bracket, Scott. We have Kimberly on bye, and they are going to be the number 4 seed because they reseed everybody according to the Max Preps rankings. And in this bracket in particular, the top 4 seeds via Max Preps get a bye regardless of what conference they come from. So you'll see, for example, Fruitland and Homedale, they both play in the same conference, but hey, if they're both good enough to get a bye, they both should deserve it. So Kimberly is the 4th best team according to the rankings. They get the bye. They will play one of these teams. It just depends on who wins these play-in games. We've got Gooding at Snake River tonight, 7 o'clock. McCall Donnelly is traveling to Buell. Buell is hosting this game at 6 o'clock tonight. It was either last year or the year prior. Buell had to go to McCall. There was like a foot of snow on the ground. Yeah. Buell got out of there with like a 12-8 win or something crazy like that. And so I'm looking forward to the rematch tonight in Buell.
Yeah. And just, you know, for giggles, I looked at the weather forecast in McCall, and it's going to be gorgeous up there. So of course it is. But you take a look at that 9 versus 8 matchup, and, you know, this is, man, start with McCall. You know, they went 5-4, but that's 5-4 in the SRB. That's a little different than going 5-4 in another conference because you're playing Weiser and Homedale and Fruitland and who they lost to all those guys. But, you know, they've got some players. You know, quarterback Gunnar Newman is no slouch. You know, he's a guy that can lead this team. And, you know, they've got a great D line led by Gunnar Newman, might I add. How often do you hear that?
Right.
You know, quarterback and plays D line as well. So it's an interesting matchup. And then, you know, Buell, you know, Zach Azevedo, great passer. He's their leader, and he's going to have to kind of guide the troops and keep them under control. But, you know, the question that I've got for Buell is, you know, they struggled last week with Filer. And, you know, they didn't put them away. And that was a team that you would think Buell should handle. And I don't know if it was looking past or what the deal was, but it kind of makes you question, is Buell playing their best right now? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. But one thing that they are going to have to do if they want to win this game against McCall Donnelly is figure out a way to stop the run, because they are going to get a heavy dose of Value and Newman, who are some of the top rushers in the 4A ranks. So it's going to be Buell's run defense that's going to be the difference here, I think.
Both of these teams lean on their offensive and defensive lines. It's an old cliche, but whoever wins the battle in the trenches probably emerges as the winner here. Really good linemen on both sides for both teams. So it's going to be a fun one. And then how about Gooding? We were talking this week. We've got kind of a new old general manager back in the fold here at IdahoSports.com, Sven Alskog. You'll be hearing more from him later.
Little Svenny.
Yeah, that's right. And we were getting ready to start contacting, advertisers for the opening round of the playoffs. And he was kind of like, how's Gooding been doing the last couple? I said, I got to be honest. I think in the entire time I've been here at IdahoSports.com, I don't think Gooding's ever been in the playoffs, like for anything that I can remember. Like that we just haven't had to. And so this is really cool and exciting for this football program. The last time Gooding was in the state playoffs, a guy named Colston Loveland was playing for him. So that tells you how long ago it was. But here's John Helmendaler. All he does is turn around these programs. He did it at Columbia. He did it at Wendell. He's done it at Gooding. And now they're going on the road to play Snake River tonight, a place where it's kind of like Yankee Stadium in baseball, just like all of the history there and all of the playoff wins. And they won, 7 championships in a row or whatever it was in the late 90s. And so it's a little intimidating when you go there, but you got to remember the Snake River team that's playing now is a vulnerable opponent that you could possibly beat on the road.
Yeah, this matchup is really going to test Gooding because they haven't been there for a minute. And it was Colston Loveland's year in 2021 was the last time. But, you talk about kind of one of the X factors, and that's Coach Helmendaler. You just don't get much better than that. And his ability to get guys to buy in. And you mentioned what he did with Columbia and Wendell, and both of those were successes. And here he is with Gooding and turning them around again. So it's not about the dudes, it's about the culture and it's about the belief. And, and if you can get these Gooding kids who are naturally just tough kids, believing in each other, they could get after Snake River a little bit. They've got a good offense. They can score some points. Quarterback Cougar Stockham, Bridger Pope, Rio Curtis, Eli Easterbrook. All of those guys are weapons for Gooding. And they could give Snake River some problems. Now you look at Snake River, they're coming in with an identical 5-4 record. But again, that is a tough schedule they played right out of the gate. And that you got to take that into consideration because they played Homedale, they played Sugar, they played Kimberly, and they lost those games, but they made them tougher for this particular moment. And they've got a lot of pedigree on their side. And you talked about it. It's like going to Yankee Stadium because this is a team that has 9 titles to their belt. They played in 13 title games, so they are no stranger to the playoffs. In fact, it's almost expected in Snake River that you contend for a title. That has just kind of been the Panther way for a long, long time. And they've got some weapons themselves, and they got lots of athletes. Bryden Mortensen, Royal Daly. On offense, those are the guys that are going to lead them. But, I think Snake River, slightly favored. Gooding could spoil it, though. I really like this matchup.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one tonight in Snake River, 7:00 there for that one. Okay, Scott, the 3A bracket, our old friends from Declo hanging out. They end up taking third in that really loaded conference behind Aberdeen and Westside. You see Westside with the first round bye there. Aberdeen's going to play Melba Saturday, 2:00 on IdahoSports.com. And for Declo, they host New Plymouth tonight in the 5 versus 4 matchup. This has been the lowest that Declo has been seeded in some time in the state playoffs. And yet Declo, you can pretty much bookmark a trip to the semifinals, and the last 2 years they've gotten all the way to the championship. Can they climb the mountain and actually win a title for the first time since I think 2017? We'll see. They've got kind of a plucky upstart in this one tonight in New Plymouth. First-year head coach in Brody Von Bretthorst. He was a player at Weiser not that long ago. And New Plymouth is kind of the surprise team of the year in this classification. Declo just trying to hold serve at home.
Yeah, this is an interesting one too. I mean, you take a look at this new Plymouth team with a 6-3 record under a first-year head coach, and they haven't been to the playoffs, or their last playoff win has been 6 years ago. So this is new territory for these kids, and obviously for this coach. No playoff experience whatsoever, but they do have an excellent quarterback in Cam Mouter, and so that is a guy that Declo is going to have to, get under control, because New Plymouth, they do have some weapons. Declo, on the other hand, they're just tough, and that toughness pays dividends in these close games. And coming off of 2 straight state championship losses, that speaks volumes to their program, and kind of it's new guys, same awesome result. It's just the culture in Declo. And you mentioned, I think the best thing that could have happened to them was going up to that conference and getting more competition, because coming out of there against a team like Westside, that's prepared you for this moment, because you come out of these weak conferences, like we said, it doesn't do you any good when you have to be in a bracket against some of the better teams. But I think Declo is poised and ready. They've got weapons of their own. Defensively, Dax and Dane Gerard, Kyle Bott defensively, those guys are beasts. They're really, really good. Snedeker, the running back, and then, Silcock leading them in receiving, and a sophomore quarterback, Thaxton, 1,400 yards. So they've got a good balance of an offense that's efficient. It's not going to wow you or flash you or anything like that. But then they've got a defense that can really buckle you down, and I think this is another great matchup. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this bracket in particular, Scott, I don't think any of the first round games are going to be particularly captivating. I think all the home favorites will win, but then, buckle it up for the quarterfinals, because anything could happen with these 8 teams that are left. And then it's going to be really fun to see how that plays out down the stretch.
No, I agree 100%. I think this first round is pretty chalk. But yeah, you're right. That second round, wow, we'll see where they end up on the seeding.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, we'll skip the 2A bracket for a second here. We'll go down to 1A. This is 8-man football. Scott, the Cary fans were not happy on Sunday, because when the rankings first got released midnight Saturday, Cary was number 5, Genesee was number 3. Well, by mid-morning on Sunday, that had flip-flopped. Cary was number 3, and Genesee was number 5. And Cary fans are going, oh, cool, they're going to update the bracket. We're going to be the number 3 overall seed, right? No. That midnight deadline comes and passes. Whatever it is at that time, that's what it is, and that's locked into place. So Cary is stuck as the number 5 team according to Max Preps. They have the first round bye. You don't see them on the bracket anywhere. But when they do get reseeded, if all of the favorites win in the opening round, Scott, Cary could be hitting the road for their postseason opener as a conference champion. And that's not sitting well with Panther fans.
It wouldn't sit well with me either. This Max Preps thing is better than ping pong balls. But if they don't get this fixed and under control with all of this non-putting scores in, or this is the deadline, in or not, doesn't matter. And these things are going to happen, because there's really doesn't appear to be a definitive answer when you look at a bracket, because you don't know if it's ever going to change, because maybe somebody in the other side of the state didn't put a score in, which you don't know because you didn't play them, but it affects everybody else down the way, So I think until they get some sort of governing body that just looks at this and controls it and polices it and whatever, this is going to continue to happen. But for Cary, no matter where they sit, they're still one of the best teams, in the state. 8-1, and they got a guy named Stockton Sears. And when you have that dude, you got a chance to win a lot of games. Okay. And I think another thing that might be working in their favor is last week they lost to Valley, and they were undefeated until then. And I see this a lot, where you're undefeated, you take that loss late, it kind of refocuses you, makes you realize that, hey, we're not impervious to a loss here, and that might be the best thing that happened to a team like Cary. But, we'll see. I still like this Cary Panther football team.
I do too. And if all of the favored teams win in the opening round and carries that number 5 seed, they're going to have to go all the way to Coeur d'Alene and play Coeur de Christ Academy in that 5 versus 4 matchup in the first round. That's a long trip to make for the Panthers, but they've done it before and they'll do it again. Let's talk about a team that's actually playing this weekend, Scott. What a cool story. The Hanson Huskies, only I believe the second playoff appearance in school history. The other one came in 2020. Right during the COVID-19 pandemic, I guess. And they went 0-1. And so Hanson is still searching for that first playoff win in school history. I thought a chance, maybe they went 7-1 this year, Scott. Obviously the Max Preps computers didn't think much, and hey, congrats. Here you go. You get to play Tri-Valley, who's like actually the number 3 best team. Good luck. Any other matchup? And I would have said, yeah, I like Hanson to maybe go on the road and get a win. This is the one matchup where it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, this is one of those that Hanson didn't get a whole lot of respect from the pollsters, if you will. And they drew Tri-Valley, which is going to be tough. But, you're right. What a story. First or second year coach Toby Lapp and what he did with this group of kids. It's just a feel-good story, and you want them to win. You want them to do well. The last thing you want to have happen is to have this feel-good story and then go get blown out in the first round of the playoffs. But, if they don't dial it in, that is something that could happen because this is a really good Tri-Valley team. Not to say Hanson isn't, but you can't be happy with just being there. Now you've got to make it count. And if they want to beat this Tri-Valley team, they got to find a way to stop Gage George and Eli Noah because they are going to get a heavy dose of Tri-Valley running backs. And we'll see how that goes. But best of luck to Hanson. And, boy, what a great season and a great story, and you hope it doesn't end.
Yep. Hanson, I think prior to 2020, kind of maybe unofficially made the playoffs before it was officially sanctioned in the 1970s. And then they went that entire time, what Hanson fans called the 40-year drought. And so maybe this is the start of something good here with this Hanson team. Good luck to the Huskies. That game, by the way, Hanson fans, if you can't make it to Cambridge for that game Saturday, you can tune in on IdahoSports.com live for that one. And then here's the 2A bracket, Scott. The district champs, Raft River. They beat Hagerman in the winner-take-all district championship showdown. So Raft River gets to sit back and enjoy the bye week. Hagerman, meanwhile, is going to host Potlatch tonight at 7 o'clock. Valley and Glens Ferry and Oakley also made it, Scott, but sorry, you got to go all the way north. Valley is at Prairie, Oakley at Logos tonight, Glens Ferry at Kamei. And in fact, if Hagerman hadn't been upset by Raft River last week, I think Potlatch would have hosted Raft River. I think all 4 first-round games would have been in North Idaho.
Wow, that would have been something. There are some pretty good North Idaho teams up there, by the way. It all begins and ends with this Kendrick team, which is, on another planet. But take a look at this Raft River team. 6-2, they go in and they really do take care of Hagerman. 42-20, and in a really defensive gem by Raft River. They held Wyatt Mavenkamp to 9 of 500 passing, but it really was about getting some pressure on him. And offensively, Raft River's got some dudes that they'll just throw a bunch of different athletes at you that can make a difference. And it's not going to be somebody really super flashy. It's just a lot of them. And it's if you're playing defense against Raft River, it's who do I stop? Because I focus on this one's going to get me, and so forth. And McCoy Spencer at quarterback, Trace Ward and Ruger Ward and many others. You can go right down the list, and they have just got some players. And so I like this Raft River team as well, especially coming off a momentum win against Hagerman.
Yeah. So Glens Ferry is playing at Kamei. That game just kicked off. This is an exact rematch of the opening round last year, Scott. I think the game is going to be last year. It was kind of a mud bowl, just a muddy mess. I think the weather's a little bit nicer this year, but man, that's a tough order for Glens Ferry, and they're kind of like Minico, kind of backing into the playoffs. They lost to Murtaugh last week, 28-8. So the Pilots just trying to rediscover that winning spark.
Yeah, this is a tough ask for Glens Ferry, who's they lost 3 in a row. I mean, they got to, like you said, they got to figure out how to win again. I think Valley was their last win, wasn't it? And it was in overtime, and that seemed like forever ago. This is a Glens Ferry team also that doesn't have a whole lot of recent playoff experience either. In fact, I think their last playoff win was almost 9 years ago. So, this is a Glens Ferry team that's trying to put themselves back on the map, but they've got to figure out a way to learn how to win again. Last thing you want to do is back yourself into the playoffs on a 3-game skid, and that's kind of what Glens Ferry's doing. But, they've got some players, Brody Merrill, quarterback, Braden Spriggs, Henry Thomas. I mean, they've got some players, but this Kamei team is really, really good. And when you factor in the teams that are up in the north, I mean, this is a Kamei team that beat Council, that beat Logos, that beat Prairie. Those are good teams up there. And they've got a solid running back in Everett Oatman. And you'll hear his name a lot, or Glens Ferry is going to get very familiar with him. But this is a tough one for Glens Ferry to hit the road and go up against Kamei.
And then let's talk about tonight on IdahoSports.com. It's 6 o'clock in Moscow. Oakley and Logos. This is a really fun first-round matchup. Oakley is kind of the opposite of Glens Ferry. They come in on a 3-game winning streak. Scott, once upon a time, Oakley was 0-6.
Yeah.
Now they're 3-6. They picked up a game last week with Garden Valley. Garden Valley had an opening in their schedule because Horseshoe Bend, their opponent, folded midway through the season. So Oakley called up Garden Valley and said, hey, we both kind of need to goose our max preps numbers a little bit. You want to play each other, and they both got in as the last team into the field. So it worked out for both schools. They're going to play again next year. Oakley is going to make the return trip to Garden Valley, a really fun 44-40 win. And it worked. And now Oakley into the playoffs with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, first of all, who would have thought Oakley would be 0-6, right? I mean, that's just not what you picture when you think of Oakley football. What you do think of Oakley football is kind of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and getting it done. And having a 3-game winning streak to end the season, and then somehow getting into the playoffs. I mean, that's insane. I mean, this is one of those teams that you're like, what are they doing here? But it's Oakley, and Oakley's got a pedigree. I mean, this is a team that's very experienced. They've got titles. They had 3 straight state titles in 20, 21, and 22, and 21 semifinal appearances. I mean, this is a very experienced team and a very experienced community when it comes to football in the postseason. So they know how to rally. They know how to get it done. But, they're going to go up against a Logos team that is pretty dang good. And I saw them play. I've called one of their games this year. And this is a really good team. Their quarterback, Baxter Covington, very good, very serviceable, can run the ball, can throw the ball, whatever. But they've got a guy on the line, on the defensive line, O-line, Peter Story. And if you've not seen this kid or heard of this kid, you will on Saturdays sometime in the next few years, because this kid is legit and he's huge and he is a problem for people. And Oakley's going to have to find a way to deal with him. But this is a Logos team, and really one of the only ones that hung with Kendrick. And we know how dominant Kendrick has been. So, man, Logos is really, really good. Oakley's got their hands full.
Yeah. Again, though, if any team is going to go do it and beat Logos, I'll take Oakley over just about anybody else in the field. And then, Scott, Valley and Prairie are playing right now on IdahoSports.com. I thought we would just take a live look in and see how it's going here. So hang tight for a second. And I'll make it. Yeah. It's not.
In the
Prairie
second quarter.
Yeah, second quarter. Prairie's ripped off a couple of big plays so far in this one, up 44-18 on the Vikings here. As we're getting close to halftime in this game. And these two teams played earlier this year, Scott, and Prairie won, but it was only by 1 score. So you can never count Valley out, but they're going to have to start getting some stops defensively.
Yeah, I mean, in these types of games, scoring is a premium. So you're you can come back from almost anything if you can figure out a way to get some defensive stops. Valley's got a really good running back in Thomas Vargas, and it looks like Prairie has kind of gotten him under control. But, there's their quarterback, Brant Jones, who does a really good job at running that option. I mean, he's very he can hide the ball well. He can read well, and he has done a really nice job this year at running that offense. But Valley has not gotten over the hump in the playoffs. When they get there, they have got to make sure they pull out a win or two, and that's going to help them right there to the house, touchdown Valley. And you never know, that might be the spark, because now we're back into a 3-score game and a lot of time left.
Yeah, that was a nice deep ball there from Brant Jones to, I believe that was Daniel Zamudio. Let me double check. Oh no, Reese Balls, excuse me. Reese Balls with the big touchdown reception there. So, okay.
Wow. Well, just like looking stuff is all right.
Yeah, we could sit and do this all day. This is like the Manning cast here, Scott.
You know what? We totally could. I mean, I'm not kidding. You could put this together, and a couple of us who are not doing a game or whatever, we could just bounce.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's fun. But, that 2-point conversion fell short, but, got it to 20. And who knows if they can sneak out another score before the half. I don't know how much time is left, but you never know.
Yep. All right. Well, on that note, Scott, we will, I gotta go broadcast the game tonight in Wallace.
You got you still have Hagerman and Potlatch.
Oh, we didn't talk about Hagerman and Potlatch. Yeah.
That's the only one left.
Okay, let's do it. Hagerman and Potlatch, Scott. Hagerman, I think, is still in okay shape. They lose a fairly close game to Raft River. They end up losing by 2 scores. Here's what I'm kind of worried about with Hagerman. You can talk me down on this. Hagerman leans on that passing game so much. And this time of year, when it gets cold outside, unless you're playing inside a dome, it's hard. It gets more and more difficult to sling the rock around. You've got to be able to run the football. And Kaysen Knight has been running it well in recent weeks. But Hagerman's identity is definitely pass first, run second, and that is just a hard formula in 8-man football this time of year.
It's almost like you're reading my notes here, because that is exactly what I said. Is like, Hagerman, if you are going to advance, run the football, figure out a way to do it. It's easy to say, well, we threw it 1,000 times last year for 1 billion yards and 87 touchdowns. Well, all of your weapons are gone. Wyatt's back there running for his life half the time. Run the football and figure it out, because Kaysen Knight is your guy. And if you can get him going on the ground, then, Wyatt Mavenkamp doesn't have to run for his life every time he takes a snap. And, you look at the games that they've struggled in. I mean, Raft River, I think he was 9 of 32 or something like that last week. And then Logos, when they played them, it was all about getting pressure on the Hagerman quarterback. And if you can do that, you will have success. But that comes because they don't have a running game. And they've got to get that figured out if they want to advance. And Potlatch, it's not a bad team, but, they've got a guy named Jay Marshall, who's a pretty good playmaker on offense. And then they've got a couple of really good defensive linemen, Brenton Breeze and Jacob Keck. And they are going, if Potlatch is going to be successful here, those 2 defensive linemen have got to get into the backfield and pressure Mavenkamp. If they can do that, Potlatch has a chance, because that's been the secret.
Yeah, and I think if you flip it, Hagerman's defense, Jonah Knapp at linebacker, and Adam Nelson at defensive end has been coming on. I think he had 2.5 or 3.5 sacks against Raft River last week. So
yeah, they've got some good defensive players too. Yeah. They're going to have to step up and make some plays. But offensively, I think that's really the big question mark is Hagerman. They can put points on the board, but they got to balance.
Yep, agreed. Okay, Scott. Well, it is State-a-Palooza happening this weekend. When we come back on next week's show, we will have state volleyball championships to talk about, state cross-country championships to talk about. State swimming is next week, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
And so we'll kind of table that discussion for 2 weeks, but we'll also have football quarterfinals to revisit as well, Scott. So
Still a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll just keep trudging along here in bracket land, and hopefully all of our Magic Valley teams keep advancing as well. So, Scott, enjoy Halloween tonight. Is that your costume, or are you wearing something different?
Oh, no. We've got, let's see. I'm kind of torn. I've got a Dodgers game at 6 come on, Dodgers, get it together, would you please? And then I'm supposed to be a vampire. We bought these elaborate vampire, like old school vampire costumes, and headed to a costume party. So, we'll see how long I can drag my feet on the Dodgers. I'm getting ready, but I don't know where I'm supposed to be.
Well, you better just hope every house you go to has the World Series on, and you can peek in and.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we went out to dinner last week sometime, and I was the worst date in the world because I got the game on my phone here, talking, doing one of these. I was terrible. I was awful, and I wouldn't date me at all.
Well, lucky for you, you don't have to. So,
boy, good thing, because I don't like myself right now.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Scott, good luck to the Dodgers tonight. Selfishly, I'm working tonight, so I want to see baseball for one more. Might as well go the full 7.
I agree.
So we'll see how it goes tonight, and good luck to all of the teams competing. State volleyball, state football, all of our cross-country runners tomorrow in Lewiston. Good luck to everybody this weekend, and we'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.